My name is Daniel, and I never believed in telling people my business online until now. I need this to exist somewhere in case I don't make it through tonight. This isn't the first time he's come for me, but I think it might be the last. It started 3 months ago when I moved back home to take care of my parents' house. They'd retired down south, and I figured a rent-free place in the woods would help me save money while I worked remote. It was supposed to be temporary, peaceful, safe. I was wrong. The first time it happened was a Thursday night in early fall. I was half asleep on the couch, some old sitcom murmuring in the background, when I heard a soft tap on the window. I thought I imagined it, but then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, muted the TV, and listened. Nothing, just the creak of the old house settling and the wind in the trees. I almost laughed it off, telling myself I'd been dreaming. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I let it go to voicemail, but it didn't leave one. I turned all the lights on and checked every window. Nothing but trees and the gravel driveway stretching into the dark. I told myself it was a branch, or an animal, or my mind playing tricks on me. But that night, I barely slept. And when I did, I dreamt someone was standing just outside the glass, watching me breathe. The next night, it happened again. Tap, tap, tap. This time it was louder, deliberate, like knuckles rapping slowly. I crept to the window, my heart hammering in my ears. I couldn't see anyone, just my reflection staring back at me, wide-eyed, mouth half open. I told myself to man up. I yanked the curtains aside and flipped the porch light on. Empty. No footprints in the dirt, no shadows in the trees. But just as I was about to close the door, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. But on the back window now. I ran through the kitchen, flung the door open, and scanned the yard. Nothing. Only silence. Heavy and unnatural. Like the whole forest was holding its breath. I wish I'd left then. Called the cops. Gone to stay with friends. But I didn't. I convinced myself it was a prank. Kids messing with the new guy in the old Wilson place. The third night, I set up my phone to record. I pointed it at the living room window and sat in the dark with a baseball bat across my lap. Hours crawled by, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Then, tap, tap, tap. I didn't move. I watched the window, eyes burning from not blinking. There was a shape this time, a smudge darker than the night. A face pressed to the glass, pale, almost featureless, except for the eyes. Black holes staring straight at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then it smiled. I swear to God, it smiled. And then it was gone. No footsteps, no rustling leaves, just gone. I checked the video the next morning. All it caught was me, sitting frozen, staring at nothing. But in the corner, right before the tapping started, the timestamp flickers, and for half a second there's a blurry outline, like a smear of a face. I didn't show anyone. Who would believe it? I should have left then, but I didn't. And now it's too late. It didn't come back for a week. I started to think maybe it was over. Maybe I scared it off by recording. Maybe I imagined everything. I tried to go back to work, to normal life. I barely left the house, kept the windows locked, curtains drawn. I jumped every time a branch scraped the roof. Then, last night, I fell asleep on the couch again. Around 2 a.m., I woke up gasping, like I'd been underwater too long. The TV was off, the room was pitch dark, and I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. But this time, it wasn't at the window. It was at the door, a soft, polite knock. 3 times. Then a voice. A man's voice, muffled through the wood. Daniel? I know you're in there. I didn't answer, couldn't move. Daniel, open up, let's talk. I stayed silent, barely breathing. My heart slammed so loud I thought he could hear it. He knocked again, harder. The voice dropped to a whisper. Don't make me come in. Then silence. For hours I didn't dare move. When the sun came up, I opened the door. There was a single muddy footprint on the porch, barefoot, human. I don't know what he wants, or who he is, or what he is, but tonight, he's back. The tapping hasn't stopped for hours. Sometimes the windows, sometimes the door, sometimes both. I've barricaded myself in the bedroom with my laptop, phone, and my dad's old hunting rifle. I don't think it'll help. I'm leaving this here, my last proof. If I disappear, if you read this, please believe me. Someone's outside the house, and he's coming in. I don't know how long I sat frozen, staring at that door. The voice drifted through the cracks like smoke, whispering my name again and again. Daniel, come out and play. I know you're awake. I gripped the rifle so tight my knuckles cracked. My breath felt too loud in the tiny room. My phone lay on the table beside me, still recording. A tiny red light blinked in the dark. Another knock. Softer this time, almost polite. Let me in, Daniel. We can talk. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might crack them open. Every instinct screamed to stay put, to wait for him to leave like he always did. But another part of me, some raw, desperate corner of my brain, was so damn tired of hiding. I stood up. The chair legs screeched against the floor. The knock stopped. I crossed the room in 3 shaky steps and pressed my eye to the peephole. At first, all I saw was black. Then movement, a shape leaning in, a flash of teeth. He was grinning. His skin looked pale, stretched too tight over sharp cheekbones. His eyes locked onto mine through the peephole, as if he could see right back at me. I told you. I always find you. He raised one finger and tapped it gently against the door. Tap, tap, tap. I jerked back so hard I nearly dropped the rifle. Then I heard it, the back door rattling. He was trying the other entrance. I bolted to the kitchen, flicking the safety off the rifle, barrel up. The cheap cabin lock clattered like it might pop loose any second. Then silence. I strained to hear over my own ragged breathing. A voice floated through the thin wooden door, not a whisper this time, but a mocking sing-song. Danny boy, come out to play. A soft laugh, like he was delighted with himself. I snapped. I don't know what part of my brain flipped, but I flung the door wide and raised the rifle. Nothing. Moonlight spilled across the tiny porch and the clearing beyond it. The trees swayed, shadows dancing like ghosts. I stepped outside, one foot on the creaky porch boards, the other crunching in the dead leaves. Where are you? I shouted, my voice cracked halfway through. Show yourself. The wood swallowed my words. No reply. I heard rustling to my left and swung the rifle around. A raccoon bolted across the clearing, its eyes flashing like tiny headlights. I cursed under my breath, trying to calm my shaking hands. Then right behind me, a whisper. So close, it brushed my ear. Found you. I spun around, finger tightening on the trigger, but I was too slow. A hard shove sent me sprawling backward off the porch. The rifle clattered away into the brush. My elbow slammed into a rock. Pain flared white-hot up my arm. I scrambled to my feet, chest heaving, eyes darting through the trees. He stood on the porch, outlined by the cabin's open door. Taller than I remembered, he wore a dark hoodie, hood up, but the moonlight caught a flash of pale skin beneath the brim. He didn't run, he just watched me, head tilted like an animal deciding whether to pounce. My mind raced. No neighbors, no help, no weapon. I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Branches whipped my face, tearing at my shirt as I crashed through the underbrush. Behind me, I heard him moving, not running, just following. His footsteps steady, patient. I had no plan, no sense of direction, just blind panic propelling me deeper into the forest. At some point, I stumbled into a dry creek bed. My ankle twisted sideways. I collapsed into the dirt, gasping for air. Somewhere in the darkness, twigs snapped. Daniel, closer now. I bit my lip to keep from sobbing. I pressed myself flat against the creek wall, praying he'd pass by. Minutes crawled past. The woods fell silent. Then, a soft thud right above me. I looked up. He was crouched on the edge of the creek bed, staring down at me, his face fully visible for the first time. Young, maybe my age, but his eyes were wrong. Flat. No light behind them, like looking into a dead animal's sockets. I opened my mouth to beg. I don't even know what I would have said. He dropped into the creek bed with the grace of a predator. I scrambled backward on my hands and heels, dirt filling my nails. He didn't rush me. He just walked forward, one step at a time, savoring it. "Why me?" I croaked. My throat burned. "What do you want?" He paused. For a heartbeat, I thought he might actually answer. Then he smiled, wide and too full of teeth. "I like the way you run." He lunged. I threw a handful of dirt at his face and rolled sideways. His hand brushed my ankle, cold, clammy fingers, but I kicked free and clawed my way up the creek wall. Branches slapped my face. Roots tore at my shoes. I didn't dare look back. I broke through the trees and stumbled into a gravel road. Headlights blinded me. Tires screeched. A pickup truck skidded to a stop inches from my knees. The driver, an old man in a ball cap, jumped out, shouting something I couldn't process. Behind me, the woods were silent again. I grabbed the man's arm, babbling. "Call the cops, please. He's trying to kill me, please." He shoved me in the truck, slammed the door, and burned rubber getting us out of there. I didn't dare look back at the trees. I knew I wouldn't see him. He never let anyone else see. The sheriff's deputies swept the cabin at dawn. No sign of him. Again. No fingerprints, no footprints, but mine. They found my phone inside, still recording. It had captured my shouting, the creak of the door, and that whisper. "Found you." It wasn't enough. It never was. I didn't go back to that cabin. I didn't go back to my parents' place either. I checked into a cheap motel on the other side of the state and paid cash. I left my phone off. I changed my name on every account I could think of. I didn't even tell my parents where I was, for their safety and mine. But every night, no matter how far I run, I hear him, sometimes tapping on the window, sometimes whispering through the vent. He promised he'd always find me, and he has. If you're listening to this, if you ever hear someone tapping on your window at night, don't look. Whatever you do, don't look. Because once he knows you've seen him, he never stops. He never, ever stops. 2 weeks passed. I didn't sleep more than an hour at a time. I switched motels every other night, always paying cash, always watching the door and windows. Sometimes I'd find nothing. Sometimes I'd find something small, a single muddy footprint on the welcome mat, or a slip of paper under the door that just said, "Almost." One night, I left the TV on to drown out my own thoughts. I must have dozed off because I woke up to static. The clock read 3:14 a.m., 3 taps at the window. I froze. My eyes drifted to the glass. The cheap motel curtains barely covered it. Another tap. Slowly, I slid off the bed and crawled to the far corner, pressing my back against the bathroom door. I clutched a rusty box cutter I'd stolen from the motel's utility closet. The tapping stopped. Then, a voice, muffled through the glass. "Daniel, open up." I squeezed my eyes shut, rocking slightly. I told myself, "This is a nightmare. Wake up, wake up," a heavier knock. Then the window rattled, a fist pounding harder now. I forced myself to crawl to the door. Box cutter clenched so tight my palm ached. I pressed my ear to the cold wood. Silence. Then, from the ceiling, a soft scuttle, like footsteps above my room. My brain refused to process it. There was no second floor. Another scuttle. Closer to the door now, a whisper through the crack. "Come outside, Daniel." I snapped. Something inside me just broke. The fear curdled into rage, into exhaustion. I flung the door open and ran barefoot into the parking lot. Empty. A single flickering street lamp. The hum of cicadas, my breath steaming in the cold night air. Behind me, I heard my motel room TV flicker back to life, voices overlapping in static. I turned slowly and nearly choked. He stood in my open doorway. His hoodie hung loosely, sleeves too long, shadow covering his face. I shouted so loud it scraped my throat raw. "What do you want from me?" He stepped forward, dragging something behind him. It clinked on the concrete, metal on asphalt. I backed up until my spine pressed against a pickup truck. He stopped 10 feet away. The porch light caught his face. I saw his eyes clearly for the first time, wide, empty, like two holes punched in wet paper. He whispered, voice hoarse but clear, "I want you to tell them." "Tell who?" I gasped. He raised his free hand. Something glinted, a battered camcorder, old, dusty. He pointed it at me. "Tell them what you did, Daniel." I didn't understand. My mind was a fog of panic. He stepped closer, the camcorder's tiny red light blinking like a heartbeat. "Tell them why I'm here. Tell them why I can't leave you alone." I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. "I don't know you. I swear to God, I don't know you." He cocked his head, that broken dog look, and whispered, "You left me. You left me in that basement. You promised you'd come back, but you locked the door, and you forgot me." His voice cracked on the last word. His shoulders shook, not with anger, but with something worse. Grief. My knees buckled. Memory hit me like a flood I'd been holding back for years. I saw it all. Me and my cousin Robbie, 10 years old, playing hide and seek in my dad's old hunting cabin. Robbie found the basement crawl space. I thought it'd be funny to lock him in for a few minutes. Then I forgot. We left that night. My dad sold the place a month later. No one ever found him. I gagged, bile rising in my throat. Robbie. Oh God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The camcorder whirred in his hand. He took one more step, now close enough I could smell the damp rot on him. I waited, Daniel. I waited and waited and waited. He raised his other hand, the thing he'd been dragging. I saw it now, a length of rope, frayed and stained. I turned to run, but his arms wrapped around my shoulders before I took a step. The box cutter slipped from my fingers. I don't remember falling. I just remember the feel of gravel biting my cheek, the rope looped around my throat, his whisper in my ear. "You left me alone. Now I'll never leave you." I woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed. The motel manager found me in the parking lot, half conscious, rope burns around my neck, delirious with fever. They said I was screaming the same word over and over. Robbie. No one believes my story. They think it's stress, guilt, trauma, insomnia. The police searched the old hunting cabin, but there was nothing left, just collapsed floorboards and raccoon nests. They say I imagined it, that my cousin's disappearance was an accident, a tragedy I blocked out. They say I'm lucky to be alive. But every night in this hospital, just before I drift off, I hear it. A whisper through the vent. "Daniel, come out and play. So if you hear tapping tonight, at your door, your window, your wall, don't answer, because some ghosts don't haunt houses. They haunt people. Forever.